Hey YouTube, Attaboy coming at you here. Wanted to make a video today, show some of my, gonna call it a cinches bag. I'm trademarking that phrase, but cinches would abbreviate camping and I'm never coming home. So it's a combination of the two bags. If you're looking for a video that's going to show you how to make a 20-pound pack or a 25-30 pound pack, this is not the video for you. This is my opinion, nothing more than my opinion, but again, keep in mind, if you're looking for a light pack, move on, have a good day. This is definitely not going to be the video for you. What this is set up for is, again, I take this camping when I go camping, and I take it if I'm up in the mountains just in case I get lost, get stuck, whatever the case may be. All of the above has happened before. But the point is I don't have to load out several different bags when I go. So anyway, long introduction, long-winded, but I'm going to go through the bag real quick and then I'll go through the contents. Some of the items in the bag are, I didn't see a point in taking them off, so I'll go through that now. This is a Molly 2 rucksack. It's not to be confused with the ILBE pack. The ILBE pack has a huge waist belt on it. This has a much, I guess I don't understand it. This has a smaller waist belt, but this is actually rated up to 200 pounds, where the ILBE is rated up to 120. So I guess I don't understand that, but that's how it is. Here I've got a carabiner stuck on here, an extra Molly strap. Open up this guy, and I've got a fire starter in here. I like to take these and secure them, like so, just so that way I know it's not going to come out. This is a Baylite 6-inch fire starter. I really like this. I have the best success with this one. I don't know if it's because it's a really good one or a really junk one or what. But it wasn't expensive. It was like 10, 12 bucks on Amazon. Works very, very, very well. Throws an excellent spark for me. This guy here, it looks almost like a little pill bottle, but it's not. It's actually its own little, almost like a Zippo lighter. Again, it was an add-on on Amazon. I think I paid $6 for 2 of them. And of course, it's not going to work. Can I? Oh, I just have to use 2 hands. But works well for what it is. Yeah, it's a backup to a backup to a backup, just in case. Going through here, I have 3 sustainment pouches that I've added on here. We have 1, 2, and 3 on the sides. Those don't actually come with this pack. The sustainment pouches are all currently empty at the moment. But if we look over here, we'll start on this corner. Here is the waist belt. It's got Molly webbing, Molly straps everywhere. Cheap little compass. This is a multi-tool in here. And I've got a canteen here. The canteen's kind of a quick down and dirty thing, just in case it doesn't work. So here I've got a Scorpion crank, flashlight, solar charger, and radio. It works well. I've used it numerous times. This I got, I believe, I want to say it was at Walmart or Amazon or something. It was 35 bucks. It's been a long time, but it does work well. And this little solar guy here, it comes with a USB outlet, and you can plug in your phone, whatever the case may be with it. Coming over to this side, I've got a good flashlight here. This is a Streamlight ProTac 2L. Very, very, very good flashlight. Highly recommend if you're looking for a very small searchlight. It is ridiculously bright. Whoops, that wasn't supposed to happen. On this side, what do I have in here? I have a backup fire starter. Again, as you can see, I weave it into the webbing on the sustainment pouches. This is actually a Walmart version. Works well. Can't complain. I would say this is my second favorite, and it actually has a small compartment here in the handle. You can stick some wet fire in there, some um, cotton balls and Vaseline, whatever the case may be. Padlock key goes to a padlock I have, and this guy is just a carabiner and buck knife. One of the things I like about this particular buck knife is it has a gut hook. They're invaluable when you need them. So this is my primary skinning knife. Keep that right there. So, also, if you look here, this actually has a frame on it. The frame does extremely well with distributing the weight of the pack. I've got several of these packs, several different packs, I should say, and this one is by far my favorite. So, that is going through the pack and what is stuck to it. Let's move on and get on to some of the contents. All right. So, we'll start here and I'll kind of clear a spot on the end of the table here so that way I can go through some things. This is a 4-piece sleep system. This has the Gore-Tex bivy, winter and summer liners. They can be combined for really cold. And then it also has the stuff sack. That makes 4 pieces. What I've added to this is I have a very small inflatable pillow. It's kind of a comfort thing, but whatever. And I also have a Whoopee inside of here as well. Whoopee being a poncho light. This is my Camelback. I honestly have never used this Camelback. I just got this a couple weeks ago. Anxious to try it out. Spare Canteen light straw. And this is a cheap little LED light. Works great for late night when you just have to, I don't know, go away, go to the bathroom, whatever the case may be. They don't put off a ton of light, but they do work. All right. Move this over just a bit. Here I've got some, this is actually 1100 paracord. It is way thicker than the 550 stuff. I've never actually pushed it to the max to see what it would hold, but it's rated at 1100 pounds, so I would feel a lot better if I had to make an elevated platform with this for 2 adults being up there. This is actually a ton of dryer lint, just to use as a backup to a backup for fire starters. In here, I have got some underwear, some socks, 2 different color washcloths. The different colors, one is for face, the other one's for the other end. And let's see, I believe that's it. A couple of t-shirts. Again, there's a lot of comfort items in there that aren't exactly a must-have, but it's kind of one of those things. This is baby bottle. I have a baby, so just in case, we're stranded somewhere, that's one less thing you have to deal with. Anybody that has kids can appreciate the whole bottle thing. So, it would be one less thing you would have to deal with. These are snares here. It's in my food kit or eat 'em kit. A couple of fishing yo-yos. Where I'm at here, I'm in Colorado. I've honestly never tried these yo-yos before. I get the concept of them, and I think they would work well in other places. But honestly, I don't think they would work here with what we have in the streams. But I would give it a shot. If it didn't work, toss it. Some 10-pound fishing line. Again, way too big for here, but that has multiple purposes. Spare lighter and some snare wire. There's some zip ties in there. I'm not going to take those out. This is 4 snares. These are, basically it's one of these guys. These are Dakota line snares. I just stuck 4 of them in here, and then I found those 2. So I'm going to add those 2 in there. So I'll have 6 snares in there. It's not to say that I can't make a primitive trap. I've done it once. I'm by no means good at it, but the whole concept is, to me, at the end of the day, if you're hiking, tired, whatever the case may be, if you're bugging out or whatever, I don't want to have to think about building a trap. I don't want to take that extra time to build one when I can just take these and toss them out there and hopefully snag something. So this is marker tape. It's actually this stuff here. What this is for is you can mark your trail if you're somewhere you're unfamiliar with, or you can use this to identify where you stuck your snares. Also, fishing kit. Again, the marker tape is something that helps out when I'm camping, but it would be one of the first things to go. If hypothetically I had to hike, call it 10 miles a day or 20 miles a day carrying this pack, one of the first things to go would be the marker tape. All right, here I've got basically this is kind of like staying in a super nice hotel when it comes to primitive survival, whatever you want to call it. You've got a 12 by 16 tarp, and then we've got a welding blanket here, and also a reflective ground liner. Basically a thick Mylar blanket. The thick Mylar makes the floor. The reflective welding blanket makes the fireplace and the mantle, and the tarp, of course, covers it all up. Any questions on these guys? I would tell you to go to Really Big Monkey. He has an amazing video where he actually builds a shelter using these. And again, keeping in mind, I'm a mile high here in elevation. My bug out location is actually 2 miles high. So again, for anybody in the back of their mind that's going, that guy's got a ton of extra weight, why would he take all that stuff? Well, if you're going to freeze to death, it would probably be better to have it with you than to not have it. So that's why I keep this stuff. Again, if I had to go and it was June, July, whatever the case may be, this would be one of the first things I would toss. So again, just as a heads up. This is something that if I was carrying this stuff a long ways, it would be one of the first things that would go, but it's very convenient to have when you are camping. It is a UCO candle lantern. You can actually take this little chain. If you have a tent, you can hang this. Most of them have little hangers in the middle, but these work very, very well. They actually put off quite a bit of heat too, so if you're cold weather camping, these can kind of help. Other thing that's nice is you can get a, sold separately of course, a light reflector, and also these blue candles are citronella, whereas the whites are just regular candles. Alright, this is a ton of cotton balls and Vaseline. I kind of get in the habit of making it, and I just made a whole bunch of them, so there's probably 60, 70, 80 of them in there. Couple of Israeli bandages. I picked these up at a show that was here. I think they were $6-8. I just figured better to have two than one. This is something, I don't see this in anyone's packs. These are the little, these are actually, I got one of these wet just to show, but this is what it is. It's a little towel here. Again, this takes up no space, weighs next to nothing. If you have kids, wiping noses, wiping, who knows what. Same thing with you. I mean, wiping your face, wiping the other end, who knows. These are a great thing to carry with you though. Kind of what keeps on going with it. Alright, these are, basically this is my, I guess you could call it, I don't know, kit that has disinfectants in it. There's some biofreeze in there, just a couple small packs, sore back or whatever the case may be, but some antiseptic, also some other antiseptic swabs and some ointment, sting relief, etc., etc. I also have this guy. I take this. I've used this a couple of times when I was camping, but in a carry it a long way scenario, this I would toss. A couple of things here of toothbrush, toothpaste, and some bandages here with bandages, also some moleskin, and there's some big gauze back there. Here I've got, this is actually something that I'm changing here in the next couple days. It's, I'm waiting on something to be delivered. Basically, all of this stuff will get compiled down and go into a container about the size of a jelly jar. The exception to that being stuff like chapstick and, this Gold Bond powder. To me, it's kind of irresponsible to think you're going to carry a pack for miles and miles and miles and miles and not experience any kind of chafing or whatever. For what it is and for as big as it is, you may as well just grab one, take it with you. Better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. In here, I've got Pepto, I've got Imodium, I've got ibuprofen, some amoxicillin, some burn ointment, a snake bite kit, some teething tablets, again, for baby, can opener, and a couple of things of chapstick. And this guy, which is kind of a continuation of the same thing, little thing of camp soap, I should probably toss that. Some natural remedies here for dry eyes. When I go up in elevation, my eyes have a tendency to dry out. Not always, but sometimes. So I take some of these, it helps. Some Sam splints for fingers, tweezers, liquid skin, a tooth repair kit, I guess you could call it. Also a mirror, a little makeup mirror thing, just in case you get something in your eye. You never know. Some just regular everyday ace bandages, nothing real special there. This is kind of a miscellaneous bag of stuff. This has some cold weather gloves. These are insulated mittens. I've got a couple of stocking caps in here. Also just some work gloves, miscellaneous stuff. Again, it's a comfort thing that I can use when I go camping, but if I was carrying it a long ways, a lot of that stuff would go. This would also be one of the first things that would go. It's fun to play with when you go camping, but as far as processing wood, I have other stuff I would use. But this is a Schrade axe, and it has a saw blade that folds out of it. So it can be used straight like so, or like that. I've tried using the saw blade. I'm not terribly fond of it. I'm sure it's a lack of technique on my behalf, but it's not really for me. The axe works great though. Holds an edge well. Super, super sharp out of the box. The sheath that this came with was just absolutely junk, so I bought one of these guys at the local Army surplus store. Fillet knife here. Lots and lots and lots of fish in the streams here. That would end up being probably a primary source of food. Good idea to have something to cut it up with. As I said, I would get rid of the axe. I would actually replace it with this guy. This is like my favorite cutting tool ever. This is a K-bar cutlass. It's very well balanced in your hand. I can't say enough good things about this machete. Definitely a recommendation. This guy here is a Sven folding bow saw. Works extremely well. The one thing I would say, or one tip or pointer I would give, is I would recommend getting a spare blade, and on that spare blade, just throw an extra wing nut on there. Just in case, because if you lost the wing nut on the end of this, you're kind of done. Same thing is true with this guy right here. Throw an extra one of these in there, because if you lost either one of those, then you've got nothing. So just keep a spare as a just in case item. Then I've got a couple of skewers here. These skewers these have been used and used and used, but everybody says just cook your food on a stick or something. I don't know. I've tried that. I personally have not had success with it. So for what those are and what they weigh, I'm just gonna stick to that. Something I left behind that was in the medical was I've got a staple remover and a staple gun here. I've obviously never used this. I keep these in the package so they kept sanitary. But the whole thing with these is, I think for me, it would be easier for me to, for lack of a better term, staple myself than to have to sew myself with a needle and thread or stitches. So I do actually have some sutures in my one of my bags over here. So this is a Catalin water treatment system. This is, it's just a little thing of hand sanitizer. This would be very, very, very useful for fire starting or just keeping yourself clean. Here we have just a regular everyday mess kit, but a couple of sporks in there and a couple of things I've added in here. Anybody that's ever, I don't know, I guess you could say killed a squirrel, killed a rabbit, killed a fox, killed anything, and cooked it over a campfire. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not so great, so I just stuck a thing of salt and pepper in there. Also, some steel wool to clean with. Another thing that is very, very lightweight, it's just aluminum foil. There's a ton of uses for that stuff, so stick that in there. Also, if you've noticed, a lot of my stuff is in Ziploc bags. The majority of it is. I'm kind of a big fan of that. You can do a lot with these as far as transporting things, keeping things clean, keeping things dry, keeping things organized. There's just a lot of stuff you can do with it. This guy, it's just a Stanley cook set. This I have not used. So, and in here, trying to utilize space. It comes with these two of these cups. So, I mean, they seem like it would work well, but just utilizing space. I stuck a whole bunch of Emergency in here. It's an electrolyte drink, kind of like a little Gatorade thing. These do a little bit more for sickness prevention than what Gatorade does, so it's kind of a win-win. And here, this is my, I don't know, fanny pack, butt pack, whatever you want to call it. This is something I would use once I got to camp or once I got to wherever I was going and wanted to scout around just to carry stuff and not my whole pack. I have a poncho in here, a pair of sunglasses. This is an amazing headlight. It's made by a company called Oh Deer. These are on Amazon. They're like $15. I would highly, highly, highly recommend these. These are crazy, crazy bright, especially for a $15 light. That's all I've got in here except for this guy. Made this guy a couple weeks ago. Obviously, I didn't make the knife. This is just a Moore knife. It's a $12, $15 knife on Amazon. But what I did here was, and I'm not going to take this all apart, but what's in here is I've got some brass line, some snare line. Then I've got probably, I don't know, there's say 20, 25 yards of brass line. Then I've got probably about 40, 50 yards of fishing line in here, a flint striker, and then this is actually the Titan survival cord. That is, this has fire starter in it, etc., etc. So, oh, and there's also a couple of fish hooks in here. So, hopefully you don't have to rely on this. But again, one more thing that's just a backup to a backup. I'm a huge fan of, if something is that critical to survive, like a knife or a water filter or whatever the case may be, having more than one of them, you can always throw it. If it's too heavy at that point, it's not really a big deal. Here I made these things, and I'm not gonna go into a ton of detail on these. But what these are is they are it's like an ID badge holder. So I've got a photograph here and here. This one would go to my wife. It has a picture of my daughter and a picture of myself. this one would go to me, it's my daughter and my wife, and then this one, my wife and myself, would go to my daughter. If, I don't know, if you've ever lost somebody somewhere in a crowd, good luck finding them, you know, I mean, you're trying to describe them and you're describing, you know, the last 200 people that walked by them. With this, you could flash a picture quick and be like, hey, you know, and you're much, much more likely to have somebody identify them. And again, that would be only if you were in a crowd. Some survival, edible plants, a couple of lighters there. Again, another water filter system. I've actually got 3 different types of water filters. I've got the LifeStraw, I've got the Sawyer, and the Katadyn. But I have, I was going to do a review on all 3 of them, but honestly just never got around to it. Got busy. Here I've got a little LED glow stick. These actually work very well when you're in a scenario where you just need very little light. Spare cheap little flashlight. By the time you pack batteries and everything, a lot of these flashlights are so light that you may as well just pack a spare flashlight just in case you lose it. Some Gorilla Tape, spare lighter. These are actually sunglasses. These are safety glasses. I wear these a lot now. Write in the Rain with a Write in the Rain pen. This is the SAS Survival Guide. I just managed to find this little thing that it fits inside, so threw it in there. A sewing kit. Again, sewing stuff is going to be an absolute necessity. If you tear your pants now, big deal, you go home and change your pants. But if you tear your pants when you're, you know, running across the country, it's kind of a big deal, and you would want to repair it. So this guy is the cord that came with the crank radio that I was showing earlier. And then this is the cord that goes to the spotlight that I was showing earlier. Little knot card thing. Again, this could be something to pass time or whatever. This is actually a second multi-tool. It's just a mini multi-tool. And my compass. So there is that. And then the last thing that I'm going to go over here is, see here, food. So what I keep with me for food is, this is a 2-pound bag of rice and a 2-pound bag of black beans. And here, this has got a little bit of everything. This has some survival vitamins. It's supposed to be a huge protein supplement. I've never taken them, to be honest with you, but I would if I had to. I keep peanuts. Peanuts are actually something that can also be very useful for trapping. Any kind of squirrel, any kind of grouse, etc., 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 they all eat them. So they would, these are not something that you're going to find in Colorado just laying around on the ground, so it's something new that'll attract them. Protein bars here, one of those famous Walmart energy, whatever you call it, bars. It's just kind of one of those things that I bought. I've got a whole ton of beef jerky here, and that's pretty much so it. And like I said, a couple of things. This whole bag, I'm not showing firearms, and I'm also not showing any kind of ammo, any of that stuff. It's just no need for it. A couple of things that are not actually in the video that I carry with me, they're just at my house at this second, is I've got a foam mat. I think that weighs like 5 ounces or something. And I also have a Climate inflatable mat and a small inflatable pillow as well. You can take those and stick them inside of your bivy cover, and it'll keep you up off the ground, keep you warm. This is kind of just my opinion of what I've got in my pack. Again, like I said in the beginning, I'm definitely not a guy that's going to advocate, leaving your house and running out into the woods for, or even anywhere for that matter with a 20-pound pack. I'm more of a person that it's better to, have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Worst case scenario, you discover after you walked with a pack that weighs, mine weighs 60 pounds. And again, with the weight system that's on there, with the weight distribution, that really, really helps. It doesn't lighten the load per se, but it makes it feel lighter. I would definitely recommend a pack like that, and I would also recommend, load it up, march around for a mile or two, see how you do with it. If it's something that's uncomfortable after a mile or two, then it's too heavy. If it's not, maybe try adding something else to it and see how it feels. Keep going with it. As far as this is concerned, though, like I said, this is nothing more than just my opinions and, kind of some of the stuff that I like to keep with me. But as for that, I believe that's everything. And this is me signing off. Have a great afternoon.